Understanding and explaining the world around us is one of the many goals of the Calgary Zoo. Each year you are introduced to new animals, new species, and with that, countless questions. This morning we learn more about the tallest bird in North America, the whooping crane. We invite Kelly Swan. Yes, Swan is her last name. She's a conservation research population ecologist with the Calgary Zoo. You've been doing it for a year and a half.
The whooping cranes in particular I've been focusing on for a year and a half, but the research on cranes has been going on since the 40s.
Oh, no kidding. We still need to ask questions about whooping cranes?
For sure. Well, whooping cranes have actually become kind of an icon of North American conservation because, as you said, they're a huge, beautiful bird, 5 feet tall. They were once widespread across North America, but around the early 1940s, there were only 15 birds remaining.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a long-lived bird, so a lot of research and effort has been put into trying to bring them back from the brink of extinction. How
many will we see here in Alberta? I mean, is it a rare occurrence to see a whooping crane here in Calgary or around the area?
It is, yes, for sure. They breed in Wood Buffalo National Park, the wild ones, so that's northern Alberta and the Northwest Territories, and it's a very remote place. A lot of muskeg, and it's hard to get to. You might see them as they're migrating down to Texas every fall. They pass through parts of Alberta but into Saskatchewan, so not likely in Calgary, but you never know, they do explore.
They are beautiful animals. You brought in some photos as well too, and they are fascinating characters. How many species of whooping cranes are there?
Whooping crane is a sole species.
Just one.
There are related other species like sandhill cranes, other crane species, but.
So the ones that we are looking at right now, what is that?
That's the whooping crane. That's the one that we have at the Calgary Zoo, and we're.
It's a little baby.
Yeah, a little chick. What we're doing now is breeding them in captivity to try and establish new populations in the wild. So the ones we're breeding at the Calgary Zoo at our Devonian Wildlife Conservation Center are actually released to the wild in Wisconsin.
That's beautiful. Yeah. The wingspan looks fascinating.
Yeah, 7 to 8 feet.
Seriously, my goodness.
Quite huge.
And there's a beautiful photo that was sent to us by Gordon Court.
Right, he takes some
who just loves the whooping crane. Something that's fascinating as well too is what's happening in this picture. It is called costume rearing. Now is that someone dressed up in a costume?
It is, yeah, that's a little puppet head that someone wears. So one of the things that we need to avoid when we're breeding birds in captivity and releasing them into the wild is we don't want them to get imprinted on humans. So the birds that are reared in captivity are raised by biologists in costumes.
What is this? Hold on, what is this?
That was actually me when I went down to the Patuxent Wildlife Research Center, which is where our birds get sent, our eggs get sent there to hatch, and you have to wear a big white sheet essentially, and usually you have a puppet head. And here I'm sitting in the ultralight plane, which is what is used to train the birds to migrate.
Okay, so you're not trying to look like a whooping crane in that shot.
Yeah, I'm failing there for sure. You wouldn't sit in the aircraft.
There are so many more questions about whooping cranes that need to be answered, such as?
Well, one of the things that we're focusing on at the Calgary Zoo is how to improve hatching success in captivity. Because the birds will lay eggs, they may or may not be fertile, and the ones that are fertile don't necessarily always hatch with 100% success. So we're trying to figure out why that is and how we can improve on that so we can ultimately have more birds to release into the wild.
Do you know some of those answers or speculations, hypotheses?
We're getting there. One of the things that we do to try and maximize the number of eggs produced in captivity is to pull them from the nest of the whooping cranes. This stimulates what would be in the wild as a predation event and causes the birds to lay 2 more eggs. So you can do this multiple times and you have a lot more whooping crane eggs being produced in captivity. But the issue is then, what do we do with those eggs that we pulled?
Exactly.
So what we have...
And who raises them?
Exactly. What we have is sandhill cranes.
Gotcha.
A surrogate species to sit on them. Or we use artificial incubators. So we're trying to determine the difference between those various conditions and which variables are most important to hatch success, like the temperature in the nest. You know, how can we better emulate a natural condition in our artificial incubators?
The last thing we want is to hear that the whooping crane is an endangered species. That's the last thing we want to hear.
Well, they are endangered now.
And that's what I'm saying. I mean, we just don't want to hear that anymore, especially with such a beautiful animal. But they're endangered because what's happening that there's not as many as we want there to be?
Well, the original decline was a lot due to habitat destruction. So human development, even power lines on their migrating route, they'll hit power lines, and the diversion of water. So they need aquatic habitats to breed in, to forage in, and to roost in as they're resting along that huge journey to Texas. But water bodies were drying up as we diverted it for agriculture and other such uses.
So if we go to the Calgary Zoo, we will be able to see some whooping cranes.
You will. There are 2 on display at the Calgary Zoo.
Do they have names, Kelly? Do they have names? Or whooping crane 1, whooping crane 2?
Thing
1, thing 2.
They do actually, but I don't
really?
remember the names of the ones on display.
I love that. How about maybe just name one Kelly and the other one Swan? No, we won't do
Sounds
that.
Sounds good.
Good luck with your research. Thank you very much.
Thanks
and
so
keep
much.
the great stuff over there at the Calgary Zoo. We love having you guys come in.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Kelly Swan is a conservation research population ecologist. Boy, put that on a business card. She's with the Calgary Zoo. Whooping cranes is what her field of expertise is, at least today. Hey, there's a lot of things happening in our city as well, too, including Locks and Frocks. It's the 6th installment. Get this, it's an evening of fashion, of splash, and of flash, all in support of the YWCA. The number is 403-203-9243 to find out more. This is Trending on Shaw.